Beaver, away!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chriscast. There we go. You can see the cameras now. You can see all of these beautiful faces as I am surrounded by some amazing Prem talent from the most recent season. I'm CeeJaey. I'm going to be hosting the Highlander Award Show for Season 19, the season that's just finished in ETF2L. I am joined by Sodium.
Hi there.
ETF2L, let me give it a little camera wave so we can see who you are. There we go. Anyone whose dab is immediately kicked off the show, as that's his rule apparently. We're also joined by the winner of Prem, the most recent season from SCCK. It is Clark in at the bottom left there. And then on the bottom right, we have one of the runners-up, Jorge from Team Envision. One of the medics. We are also joined by, who was next in the table? I guess it was Buck. Coming from Weed Cake Sellers, also Sodium's team. So we've got two players on the same team. Weed Cake Sellers finished second from bottom, unfortunately. Buck is here to join us. Also as a caster, I imagine. You know, man, many talents. And finally, we have David the Irate from Sensation Red.
Hello.
Medic and team leader. And there we go. A lot of medic mains. It's a very medic-heavy award show today, but we're going to be talking about the most recent season, just give our thoughts about what has happened over season 19, and then go, of course, over the awards of the people who have won the best thing for all of the different classes, one for each class, and we have things like debut and also overall player of the season. So for those of you who are unaware of what happened during the Highlander season, SCCK came back after a bit of a hiatus and won the season, winning all of their games during the regular season. I'm sure Wiethoofd can throw up the table onto the screen so we can see the process by which things happened. Their main contenders were Envision only dropping the games against them in the regular season and then winning the semi-final against Bankheist, who were the third place team before Envision lost in a very close best of three. Did go to the three maps in the grand final, but Super Digmas were just too strong for Envision in the end. The other three teams were Lucrosa, who missed out on the playoff berth by about 8 points, actually, so quite a way away. Weed Cake Sellers finished in fifth, with Sensation Red not going down in the history books and not winning any points. I still think the only team to have done that was UKIP back in season 5, season 6. Someone get the record books out a long time ago, but they did pick up 2 points, but they did unfortunately finish bottom of the barrel for season 19. But we are going to talk about the stuff that happened during the season. I'm going to start off with Clark, bring you into the discussion. Clark, coming back season 19, looking at the people that you were coming up against, did you think, okay, easy win, Prem medal in my back pocket already, or were you expecting some challenge from the likes of Envision and Bankheist?
No, we never think it's going to be an easy win because there's a lot of talent involved each season. Obviously, Joe and Layla with a new roster that can always be dangerous, and Envision has improved a lot, especially in the last year. Thinking himself as a team leader and as a player, he has improved. He has built a really good team, and we thought of both Envision and Layla as our main contenders, and that's exactly how it turned out to be.
Anybody else? I'm just going to leave this open room. Did anyone think that, looking at the teams that are available, when you start the season, you get to see who's going to be in Prem. Did anyone think, okay, we can maybe take a spot, Envision, Bankheist, anyone thinking, okay, maybe we could go playoffs, maybe we could even win this? Was there any kind of real confidence in this group here?
Since Poland won the Nations Cup and since there's quite a lot of the Polish players on Envision, I always had this feeling that Envision, if they were going to win Prem, it probably would be now, since they're kind of just carrying on with that momentum. So, the likes of Jupiter and Sting, they played really well this season, and they definitely gave SDCK almost a run for their money. Obviously, SDCK has proven themselves to be the better team in the end, but I didn't think it was going to be as close cut this season, and it definitely wasn't.
Jorge, did you think Envision? Oh, sorry, you carry on that. Dave.
I was just going to say, from our point of view, it was clear that SDCK and Envision were kind of a little bit above the other teams, and then it was always going to be Lucrosa and Bankhost, probably for playoffs, and then me and Sensation Weed Cake Sellers just looking to get what points we could get. So it kind of went how we expected.
Was anyone surprised? Because, like, personally, looking at the rosters at the start of the season, I did think Lucrosa had a lot of players on there that I thought they would be one of the teams to finish third or even second. Was anyone else here surprised that they finished in fourth and they were quite, far back away from the playoff spots in the end?
They lost Knos to internet problems, right? That was one of the biggest reasons I think they a little bit underperformed, because in the first game they won against Wiethoofd, I think, on Upward, or was it Battle? I can't remember. Yeah, like, looking at them, I thought, okay, they're really strong. They're looking real strong, but then obviously Knos couldn't play because he's not problems anymore, and I think they lost a lot of firepower, you could say.
Yeah, like Nos was definitely the game changer. I mean, he was a game changer for Kicksellers when he played for us last season. There was that kind of infamous draw against Strong Opinions on the Hoth maps, and he definitely pulled his weight there. So losing him obviously was kind of a big detriment for their team, I think. But I don't think it was just that. I think it was like, you got calls from elsewhere as well. But yeah, I mean, like you said, all the talent was still there in the top 3 teams, I think. So it's still kind of hard competition going into it.
Yeah, sounds fair to me. Jorge, I'm bringing you into the discussion just to say about Envision. Envision, I suppose, other than STCK, has been sort of in and out of the seasons, for a while now. But Envision have been stuck around for quite a long time, and there's like a core of that team who've been together for a while. Like, coming into this season, did you sort of see yourselves as the team to challenge STCK? Did you think, okay, we can get into the final, or did you really not have any kind of expectations?
I think after Layla's team had a bit of a rearrangement, it was this season or never, to be honest, to go to the finals, maybe contest for the title. I personally think that Strong Opinions is a bit of a better team than SDCK, so it had to be this season.
Were you kind of, as the season went on and you guys did become sort of, how do you say, the challengers, I guess, to STCK, like as we got into the playoffs, when you did get into that final, I think we talked about this after the final, did you think, like you say, now or never, was there a lot of hope in the team? Did you think we can actually do this, or were you just going to go in and see how it went?
I think it was just more of a let's play, let's have a bit of fun. And after getting the first map pretty close, we were thinking, hey, we can do this. And after Steel, that was a definite, we can definitely do this, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very, very close final. I remember casting it. And I mean, there were so many great games this season. I can't remember how many I casted, but from the ones that I watched, there was, like, SCK did look very strong. So for that final to be that close in the end, I'm not saying it was a surprise. I'm saying that it was a really, it was a good spectacle to end the season on. And definitely the first game, I think it was Wiethoofd versus Lucrosa. I think that was a 4-2. Yeah. So all the way through the season was a really, really good spectacle. However, one kind of area that I didn't get to cast and I didn't play this season, so I didn't really get to experience, was Propaganda. And that was a map that was new in for this season. I don't know if anyone has any opinions on the map pool in general, anything you'd like to see come back, anything you're annoyed that got omitted, or thoughts on, on Propaganda. I mean, is it a good map for Highlander?
I didn't miss much when it came to Propaganda, in my opinion, because that map is just god-awful. Clear Cut, on the other hand, was a lot better, in my opinion. I feel like Propaganda was like, a lot of the time you were just kind of rolling out, especially playing heavy. It was just like so big for what it was, and I feel like they kind of could have made it a bit sort of different. Maybe added a bit more cover in some places, or changed some of the sightlines up a bit. Some of them are a bit awkward, but I don't know what other people's feelings are on it.
I'm not as negative as Buck about Propaganda, but I do agree that it is kind of big. But at the same time, it's very easy to learn because it's really straightforward. And I think one advantage it has over Gilwash is that it's much easier to push out of Propaganda last than it is to push out of Gilwash last, is my opinion.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that is the only advantage it really has over Gilwash, in my opinion.
I think it's definitely better than Process when we used to have that, and that kind of Process is kind of too small for Highlander. Propaganda's kind of about the right size, I'd say. The only thing really for me is, like, sometimes the spawn times seem to be really, really long. So if you died on mid, even if you had like a messy mid fight with like one team surviving, having like 2 players survive, one team having 4, you like wouldn't be able to hold second. So sometimes it would take like 25 seconds to spawn and last. But overall, it's an alright map. Probably about the same as one pick. I wouldn't really mind which one we have for next season.
Okay. I mean, I was expecting a lot more like angry thrashing around. You know, people yelling. Yeah, I remember back in the days of Barn Blitz, there were some very very passionate people on either side of that argument. I mean, anything to do with like anything else this season, like I unlocks and stuff like that. I know there was a lot of stuff about the detonator.
There's also been a lot of talk about Badwater for a couple
Badwater as well. I mean,
Oh God. Okay.
I personally,
no,
I think
go on.
Badwater is fine. I think Badwater is fine, but I don't know what anyone else has to say about that issue.
What is the infamous third? Well, I don't know. I was just going to say that, like, I mean, before there was that thing with the Wrangler ban. I don't know what that was about. Personally, I was completely against it because, like, it's not the Wrangler. You can't just ban the Wrangler for one map. It's not how that works for me. Like, it's in the game. NG needs it to have some sort of power presence. Otherwise, the sentry just goes down to like one iron bomber pipe, and then that's it. You can't really do much else.
Yeah, what basically happened there was we make changes during preseason cups, and people tend to take these as like things that are gonna absolutely 100% make it into the main season. So when everybody saw the Wrangler ban in preseason cup, everybody just lost their mind. And you had, for the first time in a very long time, you actually had constructive criticism on some bans. Instead of people just saying, "Oh, this weapon is not good. This needs to be unbanned," and so forth.
Yes, but at the same time, Sam, you have to agree. Then, when you put such a ban in the preseason cup, people will think, "Then, okay, it's probably to test out what is going to happen next season, right?" So that's why people got angry. That's why I got angry myself as well. So that's why I've voiced my opinion multiple times that it's a terrible decision. You should not do that.
Yeah, and the preseason cup clearly showed that taking the Wrangler away wasn't a good option at the moment. Engineer wasn't in a very good place anymore.
I mean, considering Badwater, like back to that point, like I don't think there's something inherently wrong with the map because it's. I mean, people tried to like change the way it is, but if you're gonna have something with the map, you may as well just play another map. Like just play Badwater as it is, and then if you want to play another map, just play another map. It's not that big of a deal, to be honest. And there are even strats to even deal with the sentry now, like. You know, it's been a thing for so long. You've got stuff like the lock-in load, you've got the Enforcer Spy, you've got all these other things that can counter it, and it's not a single one factor that's stopping people from doing pushes. Like, teams just need to work on their coordination, honestly.
So your response to this, Buck, is get good.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I think we can maybe try the pro versions if there's...
Well, little sneak peek into the preseason cup, which should be announced tonight as well, is that we're trying out V9 in the preseason cup.
Like a lot.
I'm sorry, Dave. Is V9 the version that Asux, the French player, made, or is it? Or
V9 is the version without any real changes to the last point.
I think I'm thinking of V13 clock, the one with the staircase.
Right. The one that was.
Yeah, that's not. That doesn't have a staircase leading up to the backstairs. Last.
A lot of the pro versions, it tends to make third from like too easy to hold to too hard to hold, like almost unholdable.
Yep.
And then it just becomes like a last point. And because it's one of the harder last points to push, I don't know. I don't enjoy it when it's like just the fourth point. Because you can get to third in like 2 minutes, and then spend 10 minutes pushing last, and it's not really a payload map then.
Yeah, I think like Europe has I'm going to say an advantage, but we do kind of have UGC as a bit of a side or a minor league, I guess, in comparison to ETF2L, where we do get to experiment with a lot of different maps. So I think in comparison to the ETF2L main season, we'd like to keep that, at least the way that I see it, to keep that as like the good maps, the ones that we want to play, whereas a lot of Europeans have tried out different maps on UGC. So we do come into it with a bit of kind of experience, I suppose, playing all the different maps. But enough talking about maps and other things. We can move on to the thing that everyone's here for, in reality. It is, of course, the awards. So we do have 12 total awards. I think Wiethoofd does have a graphic to show all of them on the screen. He's a rapper problem. He doesn't even have it. He's not a very good producer, really. Let's be honest. Just half-asses all of his work. Yes, we're gonna talk about all of the 9 individual classes in Highlander, from Scout all the way to Spy. And then there's going to be 3 other awards. There is Debut of the Season. That's for the player who has played for Prem for the first time. the best debutant in a Premiership. We also have Caster of the Season and MVP of the Season. Most valuable player speaks for itself. The best player across the entirety of the season, regardless of class. And we can, of course, start off with Scout, and this is where I hand over to Sodium to talk about the nominees for Scout.
All right. On Scout, we have 2 nominees left out of 3, because originally Dreamy was nominated, but tried to manipulate the voting by voting for himself on multiple accounts. Hence why we decided to scrap him from the nominee list. Everyone who voted on Dreamy unfortunately had their vote nullified. So that leaves us with 2 nominees. And correct me if I pronounce this wrong, but Utka and May.
Yes, that is correct.
First off, it doesn't really matter who I start with here, first or second, so I'll go for first. The winner of Scout of the Season for Highlander Season 19 is Utka.
Whoa. Okay.
Can you give us percentages, or does it, I suppose, with Dreamy's votes, it's a bit...
This is just the Russians voting for this guy.
Yeah. He won the vote by about 67% to about 33% for May.
Wow, okay.
It's like a pewter
So it was a
vote.
pretty convincing win for Utka here, I'd say.
I don't know. I'm not sure my opinion on that. Utka is amazing at Scout, don't get me wrong, but May was just solid the entire season for me. Like, he was so good with the combo, and he always protected his men and stuff. Like, he was just a really good Scout. So for the vote to be that swayed towards Utka was actually kind of crazy, but I guess fair play on Utka. He did a really good job.
He did play a solid season.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is I actually think if Dreamy didn't do that, didn't manipulate the votes, he would actually have a good chance of winning. So that's unfortunate because
I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head for Dreamy, but I can surely look them up.
I voted for Dreamy. I actually thought
Dreamy would not have won. That's definitely, but it would have been reasonably close to Utka.
Yeah, I think both May and Utka had really good seasons, but May has this quality about him, is that he can be just dangerous out of nowhere. He can just run into the Batic and mid-shot him from around the corner. I think CeeJaey can agree to that. He experienced that himself a couple of times before. So, yeah, I think he has that quality about him, but I think, yeah, Utka, I think I'm happy. Yeah. I think I'm all right with him winning.
I'm going to throw it out there from a casting point of view. Does anyone remember Utka in the final? He ran, I think it was Gullywash, and he ran behind. And for about 5 minutes, he was running around behind. And he killed Jackie Legs about 3 times in a row. And then Clark went and helped. And it took like 3 people to take him down. He was just like running around on second and last. And I think that's all that we were casting for about 5 minutes. So I don't know whether that's in people's heads and thought, wow, that's cool. Let's vote for this guy.
I think the finals does have a slight edge maybe towards the votes if that's the last thing people see and they're like, oh yeah, that's the opinion we're going to have of the player rather than the overall one. But I mean, I guess it's fair play. Like, if they're going to make the good plays in the finals, then that's the time to do it, isn't it? So
that is indeed a good moment to bring out your best play in the grand finals.
I mean, looking at the votes, what is it, like 400 people voting per player, more or less?
Yeah, around 430.
400, 430. And you have 100 people watching the final, so it's more of a popularity vote, maybe?
In the end, it's always a popularity vote, but I guess a decent amount of players still vote for, because you can imagine some of the lower tier players don't really have a popular opinion, so they just go for the player they think is best, but they don't have detailed statistics on that.
Yeah, sometimes we do see. I mean, I'll be honest. We haven't got like a Prem Scout that we have had in the past. In the past, we've had people like Thalash, Credu, etc. playing on Scout. So normally those names stand out a lot to the Prem Sixes community. Who maybe, oh well, we know who that person is. We'll vote for them. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see. We'll see what the different classes. We move on to Soldier now, which I believe has, I think, Sodium the most amount of nominees as all of the classes.
Well, it's tied with Engineer for with 4 nominees each. For Soldier, we have as nominated people Jackie Legs, Duo, Kozuki, and Madman. We'll start from the bottom, I guess. With Madman ended up 4th with 9% of the votes. Moving on to third, there we have Kazuki from Lacrosa ending up with about 12% of the votes. So there's still a lot of votes to be dealt out in the top two. And it was reasonably close, but Jackie Lax took it in the end with just over 50% of the votes. And so thus placing second with about 34% of the votes.
That looks about right.
Yeah, I
think this is pretty well representative of how the season went. I think Jackie Lax picked up the Soldier of the Season for his fourth time now? Fourth or fifth?
I think it's actually fifth, yeah.
Yep.
Damn. I mean, he's a really good player, isn't he? So, it's constantly been a thing for SDCK, and I think his calls, if anything, are what makes him such a good player, because he's so vocal on the flank. Like, anytime I've sort of heard him play or like played with him, he's just kind of always a presence, and kind of his calling just what's going on all the time. So that combined with the fact that, he has really good jumps and coordinates the bombs and stuff, just makes him a really good player. But I think I'd vote for Duo because he's always been really good as well. Like, I think he did really strong for Envision this season. So yeah, I'd say this vote's really representative.
I wouldn't be surprised if Duo won because he had a great season, but I think it's hard to understand to some people who maybe don't watch the streams of our players how much of an impact Jack actually makes, not just in terms of his actual gameplay, but just not only his calls or his gameplay, but just of bringing the whole mood of a Mumble channel higher. So I think he's the player with the most impact on our team, and I think he definitely deserved to win solo this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jack, this is something that comes up in every award show. We talk about the players who have really, really good calls. That's not essentially visible unless you've actually played with the person and you know whether they're the main caller or they bring in really good calls as a spy or as in this case Jackie on Soldier. It's very it's hard for a viewer or even an opponent to really tell what that person brings to the table. So often these votes go down to what you actually visibly see as on the class itself. I felt like, Jackie, I've played with him, I know how much he brings to the table. But I think Duo as well did really good this season. I felt for Envision, he really did make things happen a lot on the flank. Just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, and just seemed to cause havoc a lot. And on Steel especially, did see some really, really crazy plays from him there as well. So I don't know, what's it like playing with Duo, Jorge?
He's very good. The thing is, it's hard to appreciate the impact that he has in the game. And I guess for viewers as well, it's really hard to tell. But you just see on the top right of the screen, the frags he's starting to get, people pulling back. You can tell his impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, there we go. That was Soldier, Sodium. We'll come on to everyone's favorite class.
Everybody's most beloved class, the Pyro class, in which we have the following nominees: Skys, Sis, and Yahoo. So we're only having 3 nominees over here. As per usual, starting from the bottom, we have Sis, taking home about 15% of the votes in third. And Yahoo takes the first place with about 61% of the votes, just miles ahead of the competition, really, with Skadis having about 23% of the votes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, no surprise there, really, to be honest. Yahoo just kind of the new Steve, but also shout out to 2 Norwegian Pyros making it into the top 3 there. So, but I will say from a Weak Kickstarter's perspective, Sis has been really good for us over the past sort of year or so. He's definitely improved in the way he's played. Like, he's done really good spy checks, done really good reflex, plays with the combo, so knows when to go in, when to leave. So yeah, I'm glad he's made a domination here, but Yahoo definitely pulling weight.
He's definitely adding to his Pyro of the Season nominations and wins with his 4th consecutive season as well of winning the Pyro of the Season.
How hard is Yahoo trying? Because I sometimes see SDCK streams and it seems like he's eating or barely trying.
He's a Rocket League main now. That's his main game right now.
Oh, wow.
Last season he said he was playing RuneScape during scrims. So he would just be randomly AFK playing RuneScape because that was when old school RuneScape players came out. And all I see now is him on WoW Classic. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy how he can do that without that much constant practice.
This is a god.
He always tries on official. He has a good work ethic. So in officials, he's always like focused completely.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's not condescending about it and he's actually like, you know, doing his job, then who cares, really? I guess.
That's in the end what counts. Bringing your best game to your officials.
Absolutely, it's the end result that everyone's going to remember, and clearly that's happened here. Is that 61% is quite a lot considering there's 3 people in the vote. I mean, Utke won by 67, and there was only 2 people, so that's a pretty big
It's
margin.
quite a heavy, yep.
We'll have to see which one the biggest margin is. As the votes go on. But on to the Demo Man.
The Demo Man, where we have some pretty interesting nominations. We have Sunburn, Wiethoofd, and the rebranded Joe Turnip. And we'll start off with third, where also Turnip ended up with about 18% of the votes. And Wiethoofd takes it home by, again, a pretty overwhelming amount, 55% of the votes, over Sunburn with 27% of the votes.
Jesus. Fair
I
point.
think this clearly shows how well people saw Wiethoofd play, and this also reflects why he comes back in the MVP award for the season later on.
It's actually a very big margin when we consider both Turnip and Sandburn are former winners of various awards in the past. I mean, I think both have won respective awards on Demo and Heavy, but I think they've both been MVP. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's actually Joe won the past 3 seasons of Demo Man of the season, so it's actually a pretty big turnover from last season, ending up third now.
Wait, Joe won the past 3 seasons as Dead Man of the
Exactly.
season.
Exactly.
So that's because he changed his name, maybe? It wasn't for him?
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Who knows? People,
It might be actually right, yeah.
it's not a
That's
smart business
very
decision.
weird. Okay. I didn't expect this much of a percentage difference, though, to be fair, between Sunburn and Wiethoofd, for example. Like, Sunburn has been, like, his calls, I mean, obviously you don't see that in the voting, whatever, if you just, like, a random voter, but his calls are pretty good. Like, you know, he knows constantly what's going on. I imagine he's doing most of the main calling for STCK Clark as well. So.
He didn't play the finals, so maybe that's why as well.
He only played 3
That's
games
true.
during the regular season, unfortunately. Maybe that was
Oh.
actually
Yeah.
out, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, no, Dito is solid as well, though. Like, I mean, if he's been there constantly throughout the season and in the final, then yeah, like, he's really good at demo. Can't really blame him.
It seemed to me like Dito was a real driving force for Division.
Yeah,
But he was probably the biggest factor for them. Him and Sting, probably.
yeah, him, Sting, and Tertia definitely driving
Yeah,
force.
Dito's damage was always incredible, to say the least, and his calls were good. Maybe the only thing was a bit of his attitude, as it's probably well known, but he's an excellent player.
Well, there we go. I mean, that's I'm trying to do maths in my head, which that's nearly double, I guess, or over double, actually. Yeah, he's got over double of Sandberg in second place. That's actually quite a dominating.
Just over double in the.
Yeah, so that's quite dominating. We've seen quite a lot of one-sided polls, I guess. I mean, Soldier there was like a 10% difference, but
Yeah, 15. Yep.
every other poll so far seems to have had a clear winner. Is Heavy going to be the same, CeeJaey?
Well, let's find out, shall we? For Heavy, we have as nominees Buck, Tuya, and Poker. And I can tell you, Tuya came third with about 20% of the votes. So we have a reasonable amount of votes for the third player as well. But taking it home is Poker with 55% of the votes again. About a 30% difference with Buck coming second with 25% of the votes.
I'm curious if everyone who voted for me, but yeah, Poker is obviously the main heavy, and he's Russian as well. So Russian heavy main.
You'd
Can't
say
really
there's
blame
an
him.
advantage, yeah, because he's
Saying
Russian.
he's going for the best cosplayer of the season, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, real life heavy. But I'm surprised Tuja didn't get more votes because like he's also really good heavy as well. Like, I mean, he pulls damage and like he works the combo a lot. You know, surprised. Like, I feel like he probably has more impact than I do, to be fair. But Yeah, Poker just doing really well on heavy as well, sort of just denying everything, going in with the team, like staying up with where Sunburn is and coming when he needs to. And the thing has just been screwed up.
We can blame Clark, yep.
Apparently, Clark's Discord has crashed. He's trying to come back, but for now, you'll have to make do with seeing Buck's chin and I think that's Sodium's hair.
Yeah, that's about it.
my messy frame is brilliant. But yes, to go back to heavy. I mean, Tuka won debut of the season a few seasons ago. I say a few; it's probably more like 5 seasons ago now or something. And I'm pretty sure on Steel or one of the maps in the final, he was fairly like high on the kills. Like he pretty much like dominated on one of the rounds. So he did have a big influence on the final, of course. I think Poker's played in a fair few finals in a row now, right? He played in the final this season and last season. So he's obviously a very well-known heavy and does a really, really good job. Clark would probably interject at this point and start talking about Poker, but he's not with us. He's not with us. So we can't.
It's very unfortunate.
I think if you look to the stats spreadsheet, Poker's stats were like miles ahead of everyone else's. But I thought CeeJaey played really well in the playoff games. And I nominated Buck as well because I thought he had a really good season. It was like a big part of like why Weecake's combo was really good. So I mean, they're all deserving nominees. And
Also interesting to note on the heavy side that your team, Dave, played with 5 different heavies in every single official they had.
Oh my god, really?
Yep.
I did not
Which
know
one was
that.
the best, Dave, out of the 5?
That's a good point.
He's put on the spot now.
We could have Sensation Red heavy of the season. Who's going to get that?
Yeah, I'd probably say Nico played the best. But I mean, you know, cheers to everyone who voted for us, I guess.
True.
I kind of want to go on to NG, but we are missing one of our nominees. I mean, we could do a quick recap for those of you listening. It's a bit of a radio cast right now as Wiethoofd is trying to untangle the wires and get everything up and running again. So this is the ETF2L Highlander Season 19 award show. So close to Season 20. Where is the time gone? We're going over the awards, obviously the players who have done well over the past season in the Premiership division. That division was, of course, won by SDCK, with Envision being the runners-up, and in third place was Bankheist. And so far, we've seen Scout, Soldier, Pyro, Demo, and Heavy. Scout of the season was Utska from Team Envision. In the Soldier of the season, just beating out Doyo into second place, was Jackie Legs from SDCK. Also from SDCK was Pyro of the season, which was Yahoo, winning with quite a big margin there, 60-odd%. On Demo of the season, it was in fact Detoed from Envision, beating the other playoff demos into second and third place, respectively. And finally, on Heavy, our very own Buck came in second, but wasn't enough to beat out Poker, the Russian man himself, from SCCK, winning 55% of the votes, and Tuka in third place. We've got NG, Medic, Sniper, and Spy to come. We're just waiting for one of our guests to return. It'll be soon, I'm sure. As we take a quick break, is there anything Highlander related anyone is desperate to get off their chests? Anything anyone wants to really talk about,
Copenhagen Games next, maybe?
Copenhagen Games, that is a TF2 LAN. That is, I want to say the next TF2 LAN there is another BTS LAN coming. That was happening and coming in one word there. Yes, BTS, but Beyond the Summit is going to be an American LAN with some of the biggest Sixes teams from around the globe, actually. We're going to have American teams, European teams, and even an Asian team. And that Asian team is 1/3 Australian. So there is a lot of continents being represented in January. And the next big European LAN will be Copenhagen Games over Easter, 8th to the 11th of April. That'll be happening, of course, I mean, as you can guess by the name, in Copenhagen, in Denmark. We've had some great times over the last couple of years in the Copenhagen Games. 2 different venues. This year's LAN was cited by many who've been to many, many LANs over the years as one of the best LANs they've experienced. So that is something definitely to look forward to. And I'm sure we'll be covering a lot of the action there. We could talk about, Sodium, you're talking about the preseason cup? Do you have some dates for when that's going to be happening, or any info you're allowed to share?
We're definitely coming up on the preseason cup. It's going to be next Sunday. The announcements should go up later tonight with all the detailed info and map pool. I can tell you we're not making any changes to the whitelist as of now. We feel like testing maps is more important at the moment because there's been quite a bit of feedback on the maps so far. But other than that, I can also share which maps. We would be going for Badwater V9 this time, so we're gonna try and see what the opinion is on it compared to the normal Badwater map, which has been pretty heavily contested over the last couple of seasons with two major groups in the community splitting up over whether playing pro, playing the normal Badwater, or just outright not playing it at all.
Otherwise known as NG mains versus non-NG mains.
Maybe, yeah. Not going to confirm anything on that. Then we're also going to be testing Vigil again, which would be on the current update RC6. Just received an update a couple of days ago. And we're also going to test Swiftwater, actually.
Finally!
To see if it can form a decent replacement for any of the maps current pool.
Yeah, I think Swiftwater. I'm a massive fan of Swiftwater. I mean, it's long. I mean, so is Borneo, and we've had Borneo before, so I don't see why we've gone off Swiftwater. So yeah, I'm glad to see we've got that added.
So it will be a Sunday evening cup for all you people, with some free time on your Sunday evening before you get to work again on Monday.
I mean, what could be more important than testing out new maps in Highlander?
Exactly.
What else are you going to be doing?
Like,
you know,
4 straight hours of Highlander. What could you want more?
Oh, gosh, yes. October the 27th. So that's a week tomorrow. Next weekend.
Exactly.
Testing out Swiftwater, Badwater V9, and Vigil. 3 different payload maps. So get your teams organized, clear your schedules, and get ready for some Highlander next week. I think something else we can actually talk about regarding sort of next season, teams coming back and things like that. But we can touch on Division 1, which obviously is the division just below Premiership. And the winner of that division goes into the Premiership division with a guaranteed spot as long as they don't change. I think it's over 50% of their roster. They get a guaranteed spot. And in Division 1, we had 3 teams sort of getting over the double figures with regards to points. We had Kitties, Bark and Bandami, obviously well known in the Highlander community, have played Prem for a number of seasons, and they also turned up to the Copenhagen Games this year. In second place was Terret Briscola Tassoni Club, and in top of the regular season was Liverpool FC. But unlike their football counterparts, unfortunately, they could not win the grand final. It was Kitty who actually made their way from the 3rd seed spot to win Division 1 and actually qualify for Premiership. So they'll be back in Premiership next season for Season 20 if they decide to return with a roster. We are rejoined by Clark. Clark, since you've been gone, we've deleted Highlander and we're focusing on... No.
That was quick.
Poker won heavy of the season. Poker won heavy of the season. We talked about how amazing he was. I'm sure you would agree. But we are going to move on to Engineer now. We've been waiting for your return to see if we're going to have another NG of the season award being handed out.
Right. So if we can then move on to NG, in which is the other category we have 4 nominees for, in by the names of Rambo Sour, Doom, Sun, and Clark. Actually, a pretty close finish for second to fourth, with Sun coming in 4th with 17% of the votes. The Belgian Biceps, aka Rambosaur, coming in for 22% of the votes. Doom coming in with just over 22% of the votes, and I think it's also not the first season, but Clark coming in with about 40% of the votes as NG of the season.
There we go. Clark of the season once again.
Clark of the season, yep. It's actually a little known fact, but every season that Clark's been nominated for Clark of the season, he's won.
Wow. There we go.
Thanks
Clark,
for
how you feeling?
who voted for me. No, I just want to say thanks to everybody who voted for me. was pretty sure Doom was gonna win because of the whole Poland thing, and thank you for everyone who voted for me.
Yeah, Doom was really good actually. Like, I mean, it's kind of weird because I don't think I've actually seen him play in a while, apart from when he came back into the Nations Cup or whatever. And seeing him play Indy, was kind of a breath of fresh air. So, played really well for Envision. But Clark pulling in again with the survivability and the support on Engineer.
I was actually surprised. Sorry, I was surprised that Sun came in fourth because I thought he played really well. Whenever we played against them, he was always really annoying our flank, on our concrete or whatever. And we just had constant complaints from our flank that why is this NG allowed to be here? Maybe he wasn't able to get away with quite the same shenanigans against the top teams, but he seemed to have a really high impact when we played against them. So I would have put him higher up.
Doom actually only came out with 2 votes over Rambosaur, so it was 88 to 86, which is very close in this case. So from what we've seen so far, the votes have not been this close.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly close. And yeah, I'd agree, Sun's has quite a presence when you play with him on NG. I remember when we played with him back in Weak Excellers a while back. So always commenting what was going on the flank and helping them out quite a lot. But also Rambo, I think probably one of the biggest players of lacrosse, in my opinion. Sort of always having a decent performance and having the game sense to play sort of engineer at a high level alongside the rest of them. So yeah, really good to see the votes are that close.
Yeah, engineer is another class that's it's hard to see what's really going on. I mean, on payload maps, some of the classes may never actually see the engineer as they're hiding behind the level 3, but often it's the King of the Hill maps and the 5TP where everyone really the engineer has a chance to stand out, being like Dave said, being annoying and just having those sentries and really helping out the flank. So there we go, 39% of the votes to Clark winning Engineer of the season. On to clearly the best class in the game. I'm sure a lot of people here will agree with me. It is the most important class. It's the only class that really matters, let's be honest. It is, of course, Medic of the season. Sodium, take it away.
Right. For Medic of the season, we have 3 nominees as well. Graba, Jorge, and Hedu. I can also tell you Medic of the season was the closest vote out of all of them. So in third, we have Jorge coming in with 30% of the votes.
Wow.
Taking it home is Kedu with nearly 36% of the votes, and so Graba ends up with 34.5% of the votes.
Wow, so 30, 34, and 36.
Exactly.
Damn.
That's insanely close. How can you give us into numbers, the number of votes difference between the three there?
There's 5 votes between Kedu and Graba, and about 18 between Graba and Jorge.
Jeez.
So it got really close for Medic.
Oh, how you feeling, Noy?
Yeah, it's fine. Someone just called me from the other room.
Anyone have any opinions on Grabber and Gedu about the qualities they have as a medic? Looking at the people here, I don't think anyone actually tries to go for med picks. So I'm probably asking the entirely wrong crowd.
Yes, true. Grabber, I mean, I think he's probably just famous for kind of Vaclair usage at this point. He did quite a bit with Lacrosse, I think, sometimes on last or whatever, when they did Uber. And his use of it has been pretty good, to be fair. He knows definitely how to use it. But I think Gedu's positioning and just the way he plays with FTCK, because I think you had Sec a bit on med, didn't you, before? But
No. Dagu joined us right before the season started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, he's playing medic really well. Obviously, massive game sense, massive brain. But yeah, well played Jorge for getting the nomination.
Yeah, at least I got that.
Yeah, you weren't far off either.
I think it was quite harsh on Jorge. If you look at the deaths, Jorge was dying less than all the other medics by quite a long way, particularly in the final as well. Losing the final and dying a lot less than Deku. I think that has a big impact.
I agree. Third is a bit low for Jorge, actually. I also played with Jorge last season as demo, so I know full well how good of a medic he is. Especially since he had to carry me because I had no idea how to play demo. Highlander, so yeah, nice. I definitely know.
No. Grabba and Ged were both amazing medics, and I'll give the vote difference to probably my lack of seasons in Highlander, but I'd say it's fair.
Well, there we go. Your medic of the season is getting from SDCK. We have two more classes, and it is those insta-kill classes that
The
Sixes
pickle,
players
everybody
love to hate.
outside.
Yes. Sniper of the season is up first, Sodium, who was nominated
Yes,
for that
exactly. For Sniper of the season, we have Kazarok, Stinghan, and Ollie. In third place, we have Ollie, taking home about 18% of the votes. And taking the first place home is Stinghan, with about 46% of the votes. Over Kazarok with about 36.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
Does the Poland thing worked for Sync and it's not for them, unfortunately?
Nope.
Sting, I gotta admit though, Sting this season has been absolutely on fire. He's been really big performance this season, especially compared to some other seasons. Like, so this is because of like team cohesion and stuff, or like people predicting him from Spy or whatever. But like, yeah, Sniper performance has probably been the best I've ever seen it. So yeah, really well played for him to get that vote. But also, shout out to Ollie and Kaz because they also had really big seasons. I mean, Ollie as well, like, has gone so far in the past like season and a bit, I think, in terms of like Prem. And to see him here in the nominations is like really good.
Yep.
So yeah, big shout out to him as well.
Yeah, I
Also
don't think it was casted, but in the semi-final, you had Stingen for Envision like top fragged by an absolute mo against Bankhost, and he was just Lucian wasn't able to do anything in that. In particularly, I think it was Coal Plant, one of the maps.
Mm.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with what both Buck and Dave said, but at the same time, I also have to point out that in the final, Kazarok was our most important player in terms of his fragging ability, and he actually top fragged for our team in the final and outplayed Stinkham by quite a lot. So despite the fact that Stinkham did have a great season, maybe a little bit better than Kazarok's, in the final, Kazarok, he performed much better, I feel like.
I think it was by map though, because Stingen completely carried in Steel, and in the semi-finals, like Dave was pointing out, that was ridiculous. He literally popped off.
I think it's just kind of the overall impact. But yeah, I guess what Clark, like, I agree with what he's saying as well. Like, when it matters in the final, sometimes it is the pressure that mounts up, and if you can perform then that's the important thing. So yeah, obviously still got quite a few votes, but yeah, I think these are pretty represented votes as well.
Well, there we go. Poland winning the Nations Cup, and then a couple of months later, Stinghan Sniper of the season. It's been a big 2019, but one class to go, Sodium.
Yep, everybody's favorite Frenchman. We have lined up here Chuper, 20 grams, and Mezzo. And in third finishes 20 grams with about 18% of the votes again. And taking it home is for the second season in a row, I think, Mezzo with 46% of the votes, followed by Chuper with about 36% of the votes.
So that's fairly close, 36 to
40. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
51.
it says something different on the screen, but we'll just ignore that. Talk about spies, people. Talk about spies.
Nice. I was Mezzo, like playing with Mezzo just constantly, because I mean he's always a big sort of comm person, isn't he? Really, Mezzo.
Yeah, from the personal experience I have of playing with Mezzo, is definitely his comms are insanely good, and he also combined with a good pick rate. So
is Clark here?
Yes, I am here.
Right.
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
So I didn't get to play against Matsu because he was on my team, but I can say that from my experience as an NG, the most annoying spy for me this season was 20 gram, because Chuper, maybe it's because I've played against him for so much, but I can kind of predict his movement and what he's going to do next. At this point, with 20 Grammy, it was always he would appear out of nowhere, but he would not pull out his knife. He would pull out his revolver, and he would two-shot me, and I would die. And I had no way of dealing with that, like at least in the first half of the season. So for me, he was the most annoying spy to play against this season.
I think he was also using the dead ringer a lot. So you would kill him,
Yeah.
and then you would be checking your back constantly, especially as medic. Like, he's dead, and you're like, no, he's not dead. And you just keep constantly turning around. It's just annoying.
I also just find crazy how much Chupa has an impact on the games just from using Eurotone Award. Like, can we shout that out? Because that is like the amount of frags he will pull out, even against the top teams, is actually ridiculous, and how he gets away with it. Like, he's just a master of like trying to take advantage of some of the distractions. But I mean, Mezzo ultimately winning it out here because of his sort of overall spy ability. With the revolver, with knife, coming in at the right time, getting the saps, calming things as well. So I think that's just what makes him the best spy, honestly.
Well, there we go, people. That is your lineup of the season. The 9 class awards have been handed out, and those are the players of the season on their respective classes. Scout of the season is Utska from Envision. Soldier of the season is Jackie Legs from SCCK. Also from SCCK is Yahoo on the Pyro. Wiethoofd was Demo Man of the season from Envision. Poker and Clark, Heavy and Engineer of the season, both from SCCK, as is Gedu on the Medic, while Envision is again represented on the Sniper with Stinghan, and Mezzo from SCK on the Spy is going to complete that roster. Looking at it now, it is in fact 3 players from Envision and 6 players from SCK making up that 9, which with the 2 teams in the final, 6-3, that was actually the score of the final. Right?
Exactly.
So,
yes.
I mean, yeah, there you go. It's fate. It's fate. We could have predicted this.
Oh my
this,
God.
but there we go. I mean, if you get to the final, then you must be one of the best players, and these guys have proved it and have won their awards. And I'm just trying to look at the flags, but it does look like we have. Oh no, we've got 2 Russians. I was going to say we have different nations in every slot, but we don't. We have 2 Russians, so Russia wins this season, guys. We do have 3 more awards to go.
Yep.
Sodium, we have a debut of the season, I believe, is going to be next.
Yep, debut of the season is for the player that made the best Prem appearance, so they've never played Prem before. And in the debut of the season, we have also 3 nominees: Carpi, Madman, and Delhi. Coming in on third, we have Madman with about 15% of the votes. And taking it home quite convincingly is Carpi with about 53% of the votes, leaving Delhi in second place with about 31%.
Deserved, I feel like.
I guess we might as well talk about Coffee, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, Carpe played really well. He held up to all the Prem snipers, I think, and he stuck. Before the season started, we were looking really ropey. We were losing to Div 2 teams, and he kind of stuck with us. Ended up taking us to Prem, and did really well. But Madman did well in his games as well.
Yeah, Madman with his classic Madman bombs. Shout out to
I have to be honest, this nomination was the only one I didn't consult my team with, and I nominated people myself, and I just basically went and looked at the stats, and I was really surprised at how close the stats of Sensation players have been in regards to other players in Prem. So, despite the fact that they finished last, I think they maybe overperformed even a little bit, and I think they deserved the nominations, and Carpi was the best of the 3.
I'm really glad to see Carvey sort of appear as well, because I've played with him for quite a while, and back in Sensations, old school as well. And he always pretty much slams. I think he did really well in Sensations this season. And also another shout out to another Finnish sniper. So we got Coffee and Ollie in here with the nominations, but Coffee taking the debut. But also shout out to Delhi as well, because we were a bit of a weird spot with the demo. We didn't really have much combo cohesion sometimes. We did a demo that could kind of step up and do the damage, similar to what we did with Noz the previous season. And Delhi was definitely a big player for us there. So pretty well played by him.
I was surprised Houston didn't get nominated actually, because he
what NG?
Yeah, he came in as a spy main, hadn't played Prem, hadn't played NG before really, and I thought he did as well as pretty much anyone really.
Yeah, he
didn't look out of place at all.
Yeah, he was playing really well, and the big thing with Houston was I kind of just messaged him, and I saw his rep post or whatever, and it was like, "Oh, can you help us out? We're missing Sodium actually, because he had to go on holiday and he came back, so we picked up Sodium again after his holiday." But during that time, it was there was a bit of iffiness over whether we'd have 9 people, and he helped us out quite a bit there, and he still performed. So it was pretty well off by him.
There we go. Debut of the season is Copy from Sensation. It's interesting. I mean, both only Madman was of those players nominated for the class awards, right? Carpi and Deli were,
Yeah, that's correctly.
which I don't know if that means anything. Yeah, I don't know if that means anything, but yeah. Generally,
I think it's just the evenness of the voting. I think in terms of the leader nominations, because ultimately the reason why there's 4 soldiers being nominated is because there's the leader's kind of just randomly associated and threw in Madman's name into the pile, I guess. But not to take away from what Madman did for Sedations though, because he was definitely a big sort of mid fragger and sniper fragger and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. We'll move on to. We're going to save the big one for last. We've got to save the piece de resistance for last. So We'll move on to caster of the season now, which is the only the non-playing ones, people who are
non-player ones
to talk.
Spectators.
Who fought best this season? We have 3 nominees as well. Pretty well-known players, all of them. Eckstein, Aggro, and CeeJaey himself. Coming in third with 6% of the votes, we have Aggro.
Oh.
And we have some quite exquisite news to announce you. The winner of the caster of the season is Eckstein with about 55% of the votes.
Whoa.
Following up, I think CeeJaey won last season, but Jansen second now with 38% of the votes.
The big yow coming in.
Yep.
I mean, he's so good.
Yeah, he is.
I got into Highlander because I was watching like Eckstein cast. Like that was like I used to watch more American Highlander than European Highlander just because Eckstein made it so like thrilling to listen to. So yeah, it's it's been so weird for me to 6-7 years later playing Highlander and then like getting to cast and meet Eckstein at LAN. It's been like super kind of I don't know, weird and exciting.
Out of body.
Yeah. I mean, he's so good. Like when you see him at LANs doing his hosting, like he's just so good at what he does.
As well.
He's so professional, and for him to be casting Highlander for us on ChrisCast as well, it's a pleasure to be having me here.
Yep.
Did Jacko Watchy not cast this season?
He did one game this season, the 2 grand finals. Actually, CeeJaey did the most Prem games this season, with coming with 4 games. Eckstein following it up with 2 Prime games and the Div 1 Grand Final and 2 preseason Cup games. And Aggro had 2 preseason Cup games and the Mid Grand Final casted.
There we go. Congrats to Eckstein and commiseration CeeJaey.
Sorry, I'll cry into my beer later.
Feels bad, man.
I have to give a shout out to the likes of James and Porky as well, who do cast some games on their channel. I know it's not totally affiliated with ChrisCast, but they did cover the semi-final when we weren't able to, and they do get a lot of viewers to sort of. It's nice that somebody's able to actually do that when ChrisCast doesn't have, the talent available to actually cover the games for people to do that, and they do it pretty well. So a little cheeky shout out for those guys. And
Daleski as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think they have a whole bunch. I mean, I remember the last one I watched, Daleski was doing it as well. They have like a bunch of people in Mumble, and it's nice to have people talking about the game that know what they're doing as well. So, not saying that me and Eckstein and Aggro don't, but it's nice to have different options, of course. But there we go. Caster of the season was Eckstein, and we have one more to go, Sodium. The big one.
The best player of the season. This is also, apart from the class ones, the only one with the 4 nominees. Being Bo, Sandburn, Wiethoofd, and Mezzo. I think Mezzo is not the first time, wouldn't be the first time if he took it home. He won it last season, along with Spy of the season.
Yep.
Sandburn has been player of the season before, I think, as well. But for the other 2, it would be a new experience. Also, I can let you know that the player of the season will also take home a vintage lo-fi long wave presented to you by ChrisCast. So that's a nice add bonus. So let's kick it off. In 4th place, we have Sandburn with 30% of the votes. Coming in just above that is Duo with 23% of the votes. And taking home player of the season is Wiethoofd with about 37% of the votes. Mezzo ending in 2nd with about 26.
Damn. So no Mezzo. To be fair, I was actually expecting Mezzo again, just from like his performance in STCK. But with Wiethoofd get the demo nomination as well, and obviously a lot of votes coming in.
Dominant fashion as well. The demo nomination.
So yeah, really well played for him to kind of just first time be in this sort of situation and then win it out. So yeah, we'll play to detailed.
I'm a bit disappointed that Jackie Lex wasn't nominated. As I said before, I think he's the player with the most impact on our team. So it's kind of weird that the player with the most impact and who's actually won the season wasn't nominated. At the same time, I'm happy that Sandwich and Metz were.
I mean, looking at the numbers of the votes, they're fairly even there. I mean, we basically got nearly 3 players getting over a quarter each.
Exactly. Yeah.
It seems fairly spread out there. I mean, can you give us any indication of like the numbers of different votes between the top 3?
Yeah, about 150 people voted for Detour. 105 for Mezzo and about 92 for Duo. So there's a seizable gap, but it isn't really that big. Definitely between spot 2 and 3.
Yeah, also it's like kind of interesting to see how Duo was on here with the 23%, and then like Clark's over like Jackie Legs not being even a Jackie Legs on the Soldier of the Season. So yeah, I guess it's kind of different impacts, and people maybe just changing up the votes a bit, or maybe it's like I don't know, different look of nominations in terms of the leaders putting forward nominations. But yeah, I think all the people that are here are definitely worthy of the kind of MVP status, like their impact for the teams that they're in and what they do on their classes respectively is definitely worthy of it.
I think like the way you look at it as well is that you can only vote for a certain number of, or nominate, I should say, for a certain number of people from a specific team. So SCCK have got 2 players nominated. So I guess, it's one of like you'd have to substitute one of those guys out if you wanted to get someone like Jackie Legs in, for example. So I guess more people nominated Sandburn and Jackie Legs. But I mean, I don't know how many people got nominated. Sodium, can you say like if anyone was like on the cusp of getting in there?
I don't have the sheet open at the moment, but could dig it up.
Okay. I mean,
Alaska took care of the whole voting nomination side. So shout outs to him for that. Dealing with all your prem team leaders, trying to get them their votes in.
You know how many teams nominated Jackie Legs, Sodium?
How many teams nominated? I just got it. I don't have the raw numbers here, or do I?
The investigation begins.
Yeah. I see 6. Yeah, exactly. So I see 6 nominations. So that's not only for MVP though. Like in total, like all the votes together from the different teams. So no 6 teams voted for Jackie Legs. It's just from the 3 votes. So they all had 6 were for Jackie Legs.
Wow, there we go. So I mean, MVP of the season is Dito, famously inactive, but still picking up awards. It seems Demo Man and MVP of the season. He is taking home 2 awards, the most awards of anybody. Yeah, the most awards of anybody here today.
It's not a rare occurrence to win both player and your class award. Last player to do it was obviously Mazzo last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I famously remember Ali winning Demo of the season in like season 10 or 11, and he beat Shaggy for Demo of the season, and then Shaggy won MVP, which that would have been awkward. seemed a bit.
That was
Well, we don't have anybody taking home the hat trick. I think there's only like 4 people who've ever done it, where they've won their class debut of the season and then best player. I think
would be
Lazy Bear,
really
Shadowburn.
To take.
I think Lazy Bear, Shadowburn, and
That's it.
No, Blub won it for Chess Club.
Oh yeah.
I think there might be somebody else I'm trying, but I can't remember. But yes, it's a very, very rare occurrence, but it's not happening this time around. But there we go. Those are your award winners for season 19. We have on Scout Utka, Soldier is Jackie Legs, Pyro Yahoo, Demoman is Detoad, Heavy is Pozka, Clark on Engineer, Gedu on Medic, Stinghan on Sniper, Mezzo on Spy. Do you know what I should have said? Stinghan managed to win Sniper. Eh? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the pity laugh, Clark. I appreciate it. Debut of the season was Carpi, and best player of the season overall was Detoad, taking home the Devil, and Eckstein is your caster of the season.
Actually, a funny note on that.
Mm-hmm.
The first time since season 11 that a non-European caster won Our caster award.
Yeah.
So
the last one. If we...
Yeah.
Also, yeah, that's
So we do have a new graphic of the new award totals of the
Ooh.
people. I mean, this is where we get to see if anyone's moved up into any of the positions. We do have some new additions at the bottom of the table. Detoad and Gedu picking up 2 and 1 awards respectively, meaning now they are now joint with some. We've got some legends on that thing. We got Cloudy, Cherry, Emilio, Credu, and Zaman. Moving up into 7th place, or joint 7th place, is Poker, picking up his 3rd award. Moving up to joint 5th, 2 people actually, both Mezzo and Yahoo now have the same amount of awards as Lazy Bear up in 5th. Clark is now up to 4th place, as is Jackie Lex. So jumping up an entire place above Lazy Bear. They both have 6 awards, and the rest are so far untouched. I'm trying to look at the names there. Ast was the other one. Ast is the other person who won 3. He won Scout.
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier.
Did you? It's probably because I don't listen to you back. I'm sorry.
Feels bad.
I'm joking. My hearing is awful. My hearing is awful. But there is your total awards of the current awards totals. I'm sure they'll be updated on ETF2L soon enough. If they aren't updated within a minute, then spam your local admin to update where are my medals, etc. etc. They love those requests. So.
Don't spam me. I'm clearly very busy here, so definitely go hit up Porky or Aoish or something.
Sodium's done his work for the day. He's done his work admirably and has given us the awards. So he doesn't need to do any more work. He needs to relax for the rest of the evening. But that is it, guys. Those are all of the players who have won their awards this season. So congratulations again to STCK and all of their players for winning the Premiership Season 19 season. And of course, congratulations to all of the other players who won awards, who weren't part of those winning rosters. Congratulations on being recognized as the best at what you do. We are going to move on to shout-out soon, but a quick shout-out from me. Of course, Sodium was talking about the preseason cup. That is October the 27th. That is next Sunday. Information will be on ETF2L soon. If you want to sign up your Highlander season to test out Vigil, Badwater, V9, and Swiftwater for potentially the new Premiership season. We also have information about, well, not information, but just letting you know about Copenhagen Games 2020, which will be next year, April the 8th to the 11th. But on the screen right now is ETF2L Season Highlander 20.
The main season event. So, yep, get your teams ready because it's coming up soon. We'll have a holiday break, most likely, because, well, people do get to go home over Christmas.
You don't play Highlander on Christmas Day, Stadium? Is that what you're telling me?
Priorities.
Not like the normal 8 hours a day.
Oh, okay,
Like
yeah.
less.
You got to take a break for the turkey, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there we go. For those of you who are messaging me, when's the next Highlander season? Don't need to anymore. There we go. There it is. Not that. Why would I know? I don't know. But there we go. Now I'm going to copy and paste this. Every time someone asks me when's there more Highlander, I can say there we go. Towards the middle of November.
Yeah, it's interesting to know as well who's coming back next season.
Yes.
Do you have
anyone
any
here?
The strong opinions of plans in the.
I don't plan further than the week ahead, mate. So.
Oh. Well, so are you doing the preseason cup? Because that's only a week ahead.
No.
Damn.
Anyone else here? Clark, Buck, Dave, Jorge, are you playing in the upcoming season?
Yes.
Returning?
Yes, we are coming back next season. And as it turns out, they didn't know that the preseason cup is next week already, so I have to organize my team as well. We'll probably play that as well.
I'm possibly scrambling together some players, so but probably not for preseason cup because I don't think we'll be getting together before that. But we'll see.
That is a bit of a trend. Prem team's not showing up to preseason cups.
I know we're probably not planning to play next season. We might there might be some players that get together some kind of team, but it won't be the previous nation team. Hopefully you might see us at Copenhagen if there's Highlander there.
Okay, well there we go. You'll see some of these faces potentially next time we have a Highlander award show. Season 20, 20th season of Highlander in ETF2L. It's pretty nuts to think that it's been around that long. But one more thing for me to talk about before I move on to all of everybody else for their personal shout-outs. We have tomorrow at 18 CEST, We have Cap That Cup. It's a charity match. The grand final will be at 20 CST, but the action starts a couple hours beforehand. So if you want to watch some of that over on CritScouts on this channel, actual gameplay content, not just people talking, actual TF2, something to look forward to if you're doing nothing tomorrow night. But I'm going to start from the top as according to the graphic. So Dave, do you have any shout outs before we disappear?
Shout out to my team and everyone who voted for us. Shout out Firefly, Kazuki, Swanee, and DVS.
Okay, and at ETF2L.
Yeah.
As,
I'd really like to give a shout out to Aleski because he did do a lot of work on setting up and managing last season. So congrats for that. And for the rest, also my team. We did a banging Prem season. We won the one game we really needed to win. So not much more you can ask for.
Clockwise, we're going. Well, clockwise. I don't know. I left to right. Clark, any shout outs?
Oh yeah, a lot actually. Shout out to my team, especially to Jackie Lex, who's been a big help this season. Shout out to everybody who voted for me. Shout out to my Sixes team. Shout out to Match.tf actually. They've had a lot of fun cups over the summer. So shout out to Wiethoofd, of course, for organizing this show and all the casts during the season. And shout out to Liverpool Football Club. They're playing United tomorrow, so good luck.
No Pogba, no De Gea. It's not going to be worth watching.
Yeah, no, it is. It is going to be worth watching.
Buck, any shout outs?
Yeah, shouts to Weak Accelerators and shout out to Fire as well for himself like the whole time. Cause I think he's having a bit of a break now. And obviously shout out to the rest of the players. Shout out to Chippo. Shout out to Madman. Shout out to Creek. Also shout out to Wiethoofd obviously for running this show. Shout out to Sodium as well for also sort of hosting this as the new ETF2L admin person, and yourself for hosting, and everyone else for turning up as well. Also shout out to Jorge for last minute showing up as well, because we were kind of looking for a sixth person. So yeah.
Well, at the moment, Jorge, do you have any shout outs before we disappear?
Yeah, shout out to everyone casting this game, everyone playing it, and yeah, just everyone in general in the chat.
Thank you very much. And I would ask Wiethoofd for shout outs, but you can't hear him. He said shout out to no one. No one. I don't like any of you.
Dictator Wiethoofd.
Yeah, just not worth listening. There's a reason we have him muted in the background. But I will give him a shout out for organizing all of the production stuff over the course of the season. He does put in a lot of work trying to gather the casters and hassle the team leaders for the STVs, and then putting all these lovely graphics over the top of the casts and the streams, and for doing all of these overlays for the award show. So shout out to him. Thank you very much for all of the effort you do. And of course, everybody who does put in effort for CritScouts and all the other organizations for covering Highlander. This has been the award show. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, congratulations to the winners of Prem and of course to the winners of all the awards today. Thank you to everybody who showed up today and talked about their opinions, especially to Sodium for coming in and revealing all of the awards and all of this new ETF2L information. You can't get it anywhere else. Sneak previews here only. But thank you for watching, everybody, and have a great night.
Hi, old beaver! Away!